These two charts are flashing signals that have got me more excited about the crypto market than I have been for a very long time. This is the Others Bitcoin chart, and right now it is showing a massive bullish divergence. This is the Others Ethereum chart, and right now it's more oversold than it has ever been before. And guess what? Every single time it's been oversold in the past, it has resulted in a massive rally for the altcoins shortly after. Are we about to see that happen, or could this sell in September rumor going around stifle our plans? I'm going to break it all down for you in this video and explain exactly what to expect over the coming weeks and months ahead so that you can prepare correctly. I think you're going to want to stick around for this one, so hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now guys, before we jump in and check out all of those charts that I am more excited about than I have been for a very long time, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky and you can lose money, so don't use money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing in anything. Now that we got that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Now guys, before we jump into the key charts of today's discussion, let's just quickly look at Bitcoin and try and understand a little bit about why the market is now sitting in fear, or near enough fear. Low levels of neutral at least, which is a bit odd considering where we have come to in this crypto market so far. Bitcoin currently sits at $109,000, and yes, just a couple of weeks ago it was at $124,000. But ultimately, Bitcoin is just breaking and retesting previous resistance. Nothing to see here, in my opinion. Can it come down a little bit lower? Well, we'll talk about that slightly later on. Now, despite the fact that Bitcoin's been cooling off, actually Ethereum has been looking pretty strong. Ethereum rallied all the way to $4,900 and has, yes, had a little bit of a pullback. It currently sits at $4,440 at the time of making this video, and actually still looks pretty damn bullish after breaking all-time highs just last week. So now that we know the market's pretty greedy, should we be worried as well? Well, I like to refer to Warren Buffett at a key time like this, because Warren Buffett is basically the greatest investor of all time, and he says, we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy only when others are fearful. And this has been playing out time and time again over the past few months. We saw World War III start to erupt, markets corrected down to the lows, everyone panicked, and actually we went straight back up after. We saw tariffs come out that gave us the best buying opportunity of this year so far, sending Ethereum down to $1,390, only to then correct massively straight after. And we've seen a whole host of other scary and worrying stories take place over the last few months. Right now, we're seeing the market being a little cautious, a little unstable. But guess what? That is only in crypto, because everything else is pretty damn bullish right now. The US stock exchange is pumping like crazy. It hit an all-time high basically last Thursday. And yes, there's a tiny little red candle here, but ultimately things are looking up for the stock market. And guess what? It's risk assets. Crypto typically runs with risk assets. You got the US Federal Reserve now threatening to cut interest rates in and around the 17th to 18th of September. When that happens, that means tons more liquidity is going to enter the global markets. Liquidity entering the markets equals Bitcoin and altcoins go up. Not necessarily on that day, but eventually they all go up, which means that the bull market is still in front of us because we haven't yet experienced full euphoria. We haven't experienced a bull market since 2021 where we have had low interest rates. The thing that killed off the Bitcoin bull market in 2021 was the threat of inflation going higher, an indicator that the interest rates were about to go up. Interest rates coming down means more liquidity, more money goes into crypto. It's pretty obvious. And if you are wondering where this money's coming from and can we possibly see crypto going higher, well, you can already see the money entering into crypto. It's doing it through this USDT market cap, which has been basically going vertical since January. Yes, it had a bit of chop when the market was sort of flat, and then as soon as the tariffs and stuff went out the way, from $144 billion, it's now added another $20 billion. Now, for those of you who are saying the bull market's finished like you always do every time crypto pulls back a little bit, just take a look. This is what happened last time the bull market finished to USDT. You can see that on the very day that Bitcoin topped, the USDT market cap dumped significantly from around 74 billion down to around 69 billion. And the reason for that was basically people exiting crypto completely. We then started to see USDT creep up as we saw people speculating on whether or not the bull market was finished, but they wanted to keep money in USDT to re-enter. guess what happens? Bitcoin, on the last bull market, suddenly breaks this neckline in and around the 9th of May. Okay, it broke the neckline 9th of May. This was the main indicator to the people who were in doubt that the bull market had truly finished. And this is what happens on the 9th of May when everyone suddenly realizes it. USDT collapses. Okay, so the USDT price collapses. Right now, we have not seen any red candles. We have not seen a red candle on the USDT weekly chart since back in December. Okay, when we had those highs, we saw the market correct a bit. Okay, we are now continuing aggressively higher. Money is flooding into the market. Billions of dollars of smart money is being added every day. So yeah, things are good. What's happened this summer simply is we got manipulation coming in. Obviously, interest rates are bullish. The market makers use this as an opportunity to shake people out of the markets. And they've used another narrative as well to support this. September, supposed to be a red month, one that we should all be terrified of, because it's always red in September, apart from obviously last year, and in fact the year before that. But in a bull market year, which is typically the year after the US election, we typically have red Septembers. In 2021, down 7%. In 2017, down 7%. In 2013, down 1.7%. But I would also like to show you that in all of those 3 bull market years, we had green August. Okay, 2013, Bitcoin up 30%. 2017, Bitcoin up 65%. 2021, Bitcoin up 13%. Guess what? In 2025, we had a red August. So it doesn't matter that we always have a red September, because we always have a green August. But this time I had a red one, which completely disproves that BS point. Now, as you know, if you subscribe to my channel, and I talked about this the other day, I was speculating on the fact that we would likely have a correction because of the M2 having this correction. But because the M2 seems to have decoupled a bit here because of market manipulation, I do feel that actually we are ready to move up and that this correction may not be so severe anymore because we've shaken a lot of the overexcitement out of the market. We now have fear reinstalled as the main narrative of this market. And if you've been able to gather yourself whenever there's fear and worry across the markets and understand that there's a lot of bull market to come, then you've probably been able to buy the dips. Now then, let's go and look at the others BTC chart and the others ETH chart, and just to understand why I'm getting a bit pumped and a bit hyped up all over again. Well, you can see this is the others Bitcoin chart. Now, others are basically all of the altcoins outside the top 10, okay, in terms of like a percentage of the overall market. And this is the others versus Bitcoin. So this is kind of like a similar way of looking at like the Bitcoin dominance chart, which as you can see is pretty much in free fall. Yes, I know you've heard certain people say that the Bitcoin dominance is going to have a massive bounce here and ruin all the altcoins again. Yes, we've heard this time and time again. Maybe it's true, okay? But if it's wrong, you get screwed. Like when those same people told you that Bitcoin was going to go down to $9,000 and it stopped at 16 and it went straight back up again. Don't forget about that. Now, jumping across to the others Bitcoin chart, you can see that we are in a fairly solid downwards trend here. In fact, this line probably moves a little bit tighter here. This is a falling wedge and typically a bullish pattern. Eventually, it will break towards the upside. Whether that happens next week or now or in a month, it doesn't really matter, because if you're just buying and holding altcoins, eventually this happens and then you get stupid rich if you're holding alts. Okay, obviously if you've done your own research and you've bought the right altcoins, which obviously you're going to be able to do by following me over here on YouTube, subscribe to the House of Crypto so that you can understand more about different altcoins and things like that. We will start to look into altcoins later on this week, because I know people don't like altcoin videos when the market's down, but that's really when you want to be watching them. Also, while we're at it, go and give me a follow over on Twitter. It's Peter_THOC. I'm talking a lot about all the different charts and things I'm watching over there, how I'm feeling in the market, and I also will share different altcoins and things I'm getting into there. I'll also be sharing information on my new project, which will be launching very soon. There will be potential for you guys to get into pre-sales at discounted rates. So if you want to get into discounted rates pre-sales on my own project Perceptron, which you can see here, then go and give me a follow over on X to be able to keep up to date with all of that. Now, what makes me think that we're going to break from here sooner rather than later? Well, it's this. It's the relative strength index. Now, I don't necessarily buy into all these kind of crazy, weird and wacky indicators that people like to use all the time. There's simply one or two that I use. I obviously like to look at the M2 money supply. Occasionally, I'll glance at the moon phases, because you know I like to keep things a little bit more interesting, but also the relative strength index, because this shows momentum of price. Now, I want you to think of the relative strength index against the price like this. If you roll down a hill on a skateboard and then up the hill the other side, eventually you're going to start to slow down and then you're going to come back down the hill. As you go down the hill, you can start to speed up, but eventually the price will turn around. Okay, this is quite a good understanding in my head of visualizing how the momentum changes against the price. You go down the hill, it's losing price, eventually it starts to round off, the skateboard will start to slow down, and then it goes up the other side. It goes up maybe a bit quickly, and then eventually it loses momentum. And what we can see here is the pressure has been in a downwards direction on the others BTC chart. And what that means is the chart has been moving down quite quickly in terms of price, but as you can see here, the momentum towards the upside has started to kick in. So effectively, the others BTC is still kind of going downhill, but the momentum has been shifting in an upwards direction. And interestingly enough, this has been basically happening since sort of those April lows came in. Ever since April, the altcoins haven't got quite as punished versus Bitcoin as they were pre-April, and that's because obviously we saw the tariffs come in and get out of the way. We then started to see ETH reacting positively to the potential of rate cuts, and I think this is being shown here just very subtly. We will break this pattern. Once this breaks, it's going to happen incredibly fast, and if it happens incredibly fast, sometime around when we get rate cuts, you could see vertical repricing coming in for altcoins. What that really means is all of those people who are worried and scared about the bull market not really being real or whatever will suddenly wake up one day to altcoins being up 50, 100, maybe about 150%. If you don't believe me, it's because you weren't around in the last bull market. If you were around in the last bull market and you don't believe me, it's because you've forgotten about it because of all the PTSD you've been put throughout this bull market. I'm sorry about that. Just go back and look at some of those charts of some of that vertical repricing going on, because eventually it will happen, and when it happens, it will happen incredibly fast, which is why, in my opinion, you can't really afford to be out the markets speculating on whether or not we have a bit of a pullback even further, like maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin goes down to retest down in and around this level. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance hasn't really been kind of bouncing in and around this area since we've been seeing Bitcoin and everything pull back over the last few weeks. So what if Bitcoin does pull down here, but actually the altcoins don't see much damage? In fact, Bitcoin's been pulling back for a few weeks, but Ethereum has been just sat up here. Okay, so be very cautious around this time. We are just on the verge of getting into that zone, that area that everyone has been waiting for months. Now, the others chart to pay attention to is others versus Ethereum. And by the way, for you guys at home who like to go and follow up and verify what I'm talking about, which you absolutely should, because I tell you to go and do your own research, and you want to get charts like this, click on this little plus button here. This is on the tradingview.com, and you can just write others, okay, and then just write a slash, and then you can write ETH. Okay, so we write ETH, and then on the others part, we just click on the others, right? And then just hit enter, and you'll get this chart down here, okay? If you want to go and find it and use it yourself, I recommend doing it. Now, again, we're going to use the relative strength down below. It shows you when things are overbought and oversold. Effectively, it's showing you the momentum. Remember that. When things are oversold, what it really means is that the price has come down far too hard, far too quickly, and it means that the momentum in that direction is suddenly hitting a wall. It's slowing down. It's gone very quickly up the hill the other side. It can't run for much longer. Now, every single time you can see that the others versus Ethereum chart, which is simply all the altcoins outside the top 10 versus Ethereum, then you can see that it bounces strongly in the other direction. So this is basically showing you when altcoins will strongly outperform Ethereum. Bearing in mind, when Bitcoin is doing well, typically altcoins do well. When Ethereum does really, really well, it means the altcoins are already doing pretty well. And over the past few weeks, we've seen Ethereum having an absolutely solid rip towards the upside, which is obviously what we see in the phase 2 of the path to altcoin season. Now we start to look towards the large caps. I talked about this with the Solana versus ETH chart the other day. Now what you can see is where it bounces in this zone, typically we get altcoins having a very strong run. Right now you can see that it is more oversold than it has ever been before. It's never been this low down in terms of how oversold it is. And typically that means that you are ready for a strong reversal towards the other side. This couples up very nicely with this, okay? It makes perfect sense. Bitcoin runs strongly, Ethereum runs strongly. Then you look at charts like Solana versus ETH. You can see bouncing strongly in this zone here, okay? Now, obviously, Solana is a large cap coin. If you go and look at other coins outside of the top 10, then you're going to find the others coins. These are the ones that start to rally when there's more confidence entering into the market. You can see that there is confidence in the global markets outside of crypto. Crypto has just been artificially kept out of confidence to allow people like Donald Trump, Larry Fink, and all the kind of big names enter into crypto. Guys, I know people are worried and fearful right now. Okay, I get it. If you've been buying into cryptos, typically you only ever buy when the market is pumping and you get greedy. Okay, I get it. Market comes down and you're like, yeah, this isn't happening. This happens time and time again. But you just keep forgetting about the fact that we have been feeling bullish and then bearish and then bullish and then bearish all the time. If you think about it, who controls the markets? The people who control the media, right? Who controls the media? The media, when it comes to crypto, when it comes to financial services, is controlled primarily by the likes of Donald Trump, by the likes of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. You know as well as I do, when Donald Trump writes a tweet about something in crypto, the market can move up quickly or down quickly. He knows this already. He controls this market. He is heavily invested in this market. How do you think he wants this bull market to end? With him at a loss? Probably not, right? If you control the markets and you'd bought a lot of crypto already, what would you really like to do with this bull market? This bull market might seem like it's unfair, it's being manipulated against you, and yes, that might be the case. If you've been using leverage, you've probably been getting flushed out. And that's because the market makers that Binance have been working with have been trying to flush out over leveraged positions. But there's only one reason they've been doing it. They've been trying to delay this bull market because everyone's so eager to buy in and get into the market as soon as it looks at all bullish. They've been waiting for the real liquidity to arrive to support that growth, that bull market that everybody wants. They want that big crazy bull market as much as you do, okay? But they're willing to wait for it patiently. They know what they need to make it happen. They need the liquidity. The liquidity is coming in absolutely crazy volumes as soon as those rate cut comes. Okay, rate cuts are going to come soon. Do we get more correction in and around September? Who knows? Okay, it's obviously possible, but I don't personally want to be sidelined waiting for that, because I know once we get into October, November, December, we go into vertical repricing, then you don't have much time, because when that starts to happen, the greed and the craziness will unfold like you have never seen before. And trust me, when the market has topped out, you're not going to want to sell. You're going to be demanding my head whenever I tell you that I'm taking profits. You're going to go crazy. It's typically how it always ends. Okay, we're going to have a bull market very similar to that one because the people who control the bull market are heavily invested in crypto. We already know that, so you just need to position yourself correctly. Now, if you want to go and buy different altcoins and things like that, or you've already been buying altcoins and want to trade them for different ones, whatever, then you're probably looking for a good exchange to do it. And I personally use Bitunix, WEEX, and also BloFin, linked down below in the description. Now, I use these 3 exchanges because they all don't require KYC, and I can use them wherever I am in the world without any issues. And since I travel a lot, that's very helpful. Also, they come with a huge range of different altcoins. If you want to be able to buy small cap, mid cap altcoins, you're not going to be able to find them on Binance and Coinbase because it's really difficult for new coins to get onto those major exchanges. It only typically happens once they've already done 10 or 20x. So if you want to be able to make big multiples, you need to be on other exchanges. Also, these different exchanges come with huge bonuses. I believe one of them right now is up to around $100,000 of deposit-based bonus. So if you want to be able to access a huge range of different coins and gather some of the best rewards across crypto, then make sure you sign up for those exchange links down below. Also, by having all 3, you can be prepared for when I start to put out more altcoin videos so that you can get into those before everyone else rushes in and gets into them. The market is about to get more exciting. It might take a few more weeks, but you've been patient for this long. What's just another couple of weeks? Things are looking good. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Found it useful, do me a favor, hit the like button if you've been around. Also, leave a comment down below. Always appreciate that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.